Hello followers, today's video is going to be some advice about small scale farms, approaching restaurants and working with chefs. It's really sunny out here, but it's also really cold. Got my gloves on, so I'm going to do this video from my house. See you in a minute. Okay, let's get started. A really great way of selling your produce and earning some extra income is to sell to restaurants and chefs. Now, this is going to obviously differ from a traditional farm gate sale, but I want you to have confidence at the end of this video to be able to approach restaurants, to find the right restaurants, and to know what to expect from working with chefs and restaurants. How many times can I say restaurants in one sentence? As always with the small scale farming series, this can be found in written form on the blog www.femalefarmeruk.com. The first task you're going to need to do is filter out the local restaurants in your area. Now by that I mean you're not going to sit down and email every single restaurant or pick up the phone and call every single restaurant in your area, because a lot of these restaurants aren't going to be suitable for you. When I first started working at the beef cattle farm, that's not what I did. I approached every single restaurant, I sent them all out our price list and said, come and use our produce, we're really great. And we got loads and loads of responses, which was fantastic. The downside, however, was we couldn't actually supply the majority of these restaurants. A lot of these restaurants only wanted a certain cut, so that really wouldn't work for us because we have such a small herd of cattle. You need to think about the scale of your operation. The likelihood is, if you're watching this video, it's going to be quite a small scale operation. You're going to be running a small holding or homestead or a very small farm. So what you need to think about is how much produce can you get out to these customers regularly. They're going to want a regular supply. A lot of restaurants have seasonal variances. I live by the sea, so we have a huge busy period during the summer, and then it quietens down in the winter. So are you able to deal with that? It's really shocking how much stock these customers will want. So even I used to work as a business manager for a cafe, and still I was shocked at how much quantity these restaurants were going through. So realistically, you're only going to be applying to small restaurants. Perhaps you're just going to be doing a special on the menu, or perhaps I know a lot of lamb producers that actually do a seasonal menu with restaurants and pubs in their area. So they might have a month where they supply the lamb from the local farm, and it's a real hit event, but it's only for that 1 month a year. That might be another way to approach a restaurant. Another thing to consider if you are selling products such as lamb, where they are breeding and lambing seasonally, is you might not be able to supply it all year round, and you might actually be supplying, rather than fresh produce, you might be supplying frozen. So a lot of chefs are absolutely fine with that, but just be honest from the outset and say that's the plan, or they might want to just sell your product seasonally when it is fresh. So just, again, be honest, explain what the situation is. A lot of chefs will be understanding, and if they're not, then it's probably not the kind of chef that you want to work with anyway. Also think about when you're able to realistically deliver your produce. So it might be a set time slot once a week, or it might be once a fortnight, once a month, whatever works for you, and also what works for the chef. So they're only going to be on site for specific hours in a day, so you need to work with them on that point as well. It might mean some early morning or late night deliveries, but to keep a customer like this happy, you're going to have to work with their timescale. Also think about what notice period you're going to need. Some of these chefs might be used to working with huge wholesalers such as Breaks and Brooks, and they're used to placing an order the night before and getting it the next morning. That's really unlikely that it's going to be something you're going to be able to offer. So just say, you know, I need a week's notice, or I need 3 days notice. Be honest with them and they will know what to expect then. The next really important point is to look at the restaurant's menus, and what you're looking for is the prices. So if you are selling a rump steak to them for £10 and they're selling rump steak, chips and peas for £15, it's not going to be a working relationship, is it? They're far too cheap. Now, as a rough guide, what I did was I would split the pricing up into 3 points. So say something was £10, £3.33 of it would go on the produce, £3.33 of it would go on overheads, and we try and get £3.33 of it as profit. Now that's just how we worked, but I know a lot of restaurants do share that model as well. So roughly speaking, if you are selling a rump steak for £10, you're going to want to look at a steak on the menu that'll be about £30 with, you know, sides and things as well. Obviously your meat, if you're selling meat, that's going to be one of the high cost items on the plate. So just have a look at their pricing, see if it works with your pricing, and that will narrow down the results in your area as well. Also, when we come and talk about pricing, if you're working with commercial clients, they're going to expect a discount from what you charge from your gate or from your farmer's market or online. That's simply because of the amount of stock they're going to order and also the regular orders that they place. You've not got the overheads of having to pay for a market stall. And things like packaging, you can work out a deal where you package multiples, so it saves you money in that respect. So roughly I offer 10% off for commercial clients, but really it's going to be down to you and what you can afford to offer, and obviously what can make your produce appealing to them. If you are worried about offering a discount, perhaps you haven't got those margins, maybe use an incentive instead. So spend £100 with us in a month and get 10% off, or orders over £200 get 20% off. This can be another way to ensure a huge order to guarantee that you're getting a lot of stock out, but still offering a discount that will entice the buyers. Now, I do talk a lot about supplying local restaurants. That's because I'm really lucky and I live in an area where there are a lot of local restaurants. Perhaps if you were in a really rural area, which a lot of you are going to be if you're farming, it's not going to be likely that you're going to find restaurants in your local area, or perhaps only a handful, and that's not going to supply you with enough income. In this instance, another place to look would be in our big cities, so London, Birmingham, Glasgow, Manchester. And what you can do is look at the really clever packaging. Woolcool, that's WOOLCOOL, Woolcool, is a really great product. It's using wool, obviously, to keep your products cool, and it can keep the temperature for up to 48 hours. So look into courier prices. You're not obviously going to want to be driving into central London or central Manchester once a week to supply restaurants, but it is likely that this is going to be where your customer base is. So look into couriers, look into clever packaging solutions. Obviously, if you're selling meat, it's really important that this produce arrives chilled. If you are supplying restaurants that are a fair distance away from you and you have to use a courier, this might affect your USP, so your unique selling point. What I find is that restaurants want to use me because I am local, and they can say, this steak was grown just around the corner, or 5 miles down the road, or when you came in, you drove past the field of cows, that was where it was from. So for me, it wouldn't really work, and also people are getting more and more environmentally aware and they want their produce to be local. So just bear that in mind if you are trying to supply cities. But perhaps locality isn't your unique selling point, and it's actually because you offer a niche product. Perhaps you're selling goat meat and there isn't any goat meat near London or locally available. So really, it's down to your individual business in this respect. Selling to restaurants and chefs is hugely different to a farm gate sale. So you might at the moment sell a half pig box. That means you get rid of all of your cuts, and it's a really easy sell. It's really unlikely. I know that some chefs will buy a whole carcass, but I haven't found anyone in my local area that wants to do that. What I tend to do is sell my really popular cuts to chefs. They want the sirloin steaks, the rump steaks, the foreribs, items that are quite high cost and are really popular with their customers. It's really unlikely that I'm going to be able to sell the lower cost cuts to chefs, and that leaves me with loads of leftover carcass that I haven't been able to sell. So what you need to do with this is be really clever. What I tend to do is mince up the rest of the animal, and from the mince I can sell it as packs of mince, I can sell it as meatballs or burgers, and these are items that are really popular on a farmer's market stall. So that's a way of getting rid of the rest of the animal. Or to mobile food vendors. So there's quite a few burger vans locally or burger stalls that I can sell my burgers to, or my mince, and then they make their own. So you are going to have to think about what you're going to do with the rest of the animal. Another way that selling to chefs differs to farm gate sales is that chefs are really unlikely to come down to your farm and pick their produce up. They might do it to begin with, just the first order, just to see what you've got going on. If they're chefs that like local produce, they'll want to see your farm, meet your animals, and it's a really great selling point for you. But they're unlikely to do this every week. So you're going to need to incorporate the cost of delivery into your prices, or set a price for delivery on top of your prices. Again, you can look into using couriers if the restaurant's too far away from you, or you can just look at approaching restaurants that are in a realistic driving distance of your home or farm. Chefs will further differ from your traditional public sale because they are going to require reliability and consistency. If you go to a farmer's market one week and you've sold out of sausages, the likelihood is it's not going to be too much of a big deal. They're probably going to come earlier the next week because they're going to want to guarantee that they can get the sausages. With a chef, if you turn up and say, actually we sold out of sirloins, you've got no sirloins for you this week, they're going to be really disappointed, and it might even end your business relationship. If for some reason you can't fulfill a chef's order that particular week, then you're going to need to give them plenty of notice, offer them alternatives, and be really apologetic. Also, if you can't make the delivery time or slot, offer alternatives, perhaps offer a discount. It might be something out of your control, like the sheep escaped or something, but these are your bread and butter clients. These can provide you with a regular income. You need to really look after them, and you could earn a really good living off of this from your small holdings. So really look after your chefs and your commercial clients. Another way to look after chefs is to offer them exactly what they want. Chefs are very specific in what they require for the individual dishes. They may want a joint to look a particular way or to be packaged in a certain way. So ask them what they want before you start supplying them. If it's something that you can't do, you might be able to ask a local butcher and they can help you. If this incurs an additional cost, obviously you're going to pass this on to the chef. Give them the two options. I can supply it this A for this price, or B with the butcher helping me for this price. The likelihood is they're going to choose the cheaper price because obviously they're in it to make a profit too, but you've given them that option and shown that you can be really flexible. Now I get asked this question a lot: how do smallholders approach a restaurant? How do you go about it? And it's really simple. You just need to get in touch with them. What you need to do is work out who is responsible in a restaurant for buying the food. Quite often in small restaurants, which is who you're probably going to be supplying, it is the chef. Occasionally there will be a manager or someone else making the decision. So give them a call, ask who's responsible for buying in produce, see if you can get their direct contact details. You might be able to get an email address. If not, just send an email into their main address that you can probably find on their website or their social media pages. In this email, you're going to want to include your price list. So you just want to include a couple of products. Perhaps you know they already have them on their menu, or they're just really popular cuts with chefs and restaurants. And that will then give them an idea of your price structure. Also include your delivery requirements, so when you can deliver, how often you can deliver, what your charges are, and your notice period, so how much time you need between them placing an order and them getting the order. If you're upfront in this email, it saves any confusion further down the line and keeps a really good relationship with your client. I would then follow up my email with a phone call. Remember, restaurants and chefs are really busy, so make sure you call at convenient times. Don't call at 12:30 when you know the lunch rush is there. Try and get in before or after. A good time is sort of 3 p.m. The lunch rush is over, they haven't started preparing for dinner yet. So that's when I would call up, and be persistent. A real hit with chefs is to offer a taste test. So what I do is offer a sample. It can be a small sample, it can be less than £5, maybe a couple of steaks, pack of sausages, pack of burgers, something that you know is a really high quality product of yours and you're really proud of. Send it out to the chef or ask them what they would like. They might always sell pork chops, so that's something they want to try. A taste test is simply the best way to show what your produce is all about. When you speak to chefs and restaurants, have real confidence in what you produce. Tell them your story, perhaps offer them a farm tour. That's a fantastic way of really getting across your story and your unique selling point. You need to tell them what is different to what they can pick up in the wholesalers. You're likely to be a bit more expensive, but restaurants aren't always based on that. Obviously, they do need to make a profit and they will be looking at your prices, but a chef's main focus is always going to be on quality, reliability, convenience and flavour. So bear these topics in mind when you're promoting what you can offer them. If you do get in touch with a chef and perhaps you send out some samples or you offer them a farm tour and you get rejected, don't take it to heart, please, please, please. I know so often when you're having a farm business, a rejection can be taken straight to the heart. It's like a direct criticism of your farm. Absolutely not. Different chefs have different motives and you can't please them all. And the great thing is, as a small scale producer, you're only going to need a handful of such clients to really make a good income. So don't worry about few rejections. It's going to happen. It's happened to everyone. It's happened to the best farmers in the world. So just please be confident in what you've got and just keep going. Overall, chefs and restaurants can be really beneficial to small scale producers. They can turn your business into a really profitable exercise. So please give it a go. See if you can find anyone locally to supply and just be confident. Be brave, go out there, approach these restaurants and be prepared to be flexible for such important customers. Let me know how you get on and I have every faith in you.